She recently went on New Heights once again to talk about her signature shoe, and she talked about the new technology that will be going into this shoe. So I wanted to play this clip for you guys right here.
So there's like a couple Kobe's that they have only the technology in like the heel of your foot and not the forefoot of your foot. And I can like tell a huge difference when I play in those. Like it feels like I'm running on hardwood. So like I really struggled to wear those. But for other people, they obviously love them. But for me, it's like, no, I need that technology everywhere. So that's honestly been a huge part of, you know, the process and the creation of the shoe is like it being comfortable and exactly kind of what I need. And the technology that we're going to put into it isn't anything that they've ever put into a basketball shoe.
Here is where things get complicated. The Players Union has proposed a deal that would give players approximately 30% of gross league revenue. Under that model, the salary cap would rise to roughly $10.5 million per team. The average player salary would reach $1 million. Max contracts would hit $2.5 million. From the player's perspective, this feels reasonable. The league is expanding. Teams are selling for $250 million. Viewership and attendance are up. They believe this is the moment to claim their share. The league strongly disagrees. According to league projections, that proposal would result in $700 million in losses over the life of the agreement, not reduced profits, actual losses. And they claim that number exceeds everything the WNBA has lost over its entire 29-year history combined. The Players Union believes that projection is false. They argue the league is manipulating the math to suppress salaries. The problem is transparency. The WNBA is not publicly traded. Its full financials are not available for independent verification. That means fans and even players are forced to rely on competing narratives. Expansion fees complicate everything further. Cleveland, Detroit, and Philadelphia are reportedly paying $250 million each to join the league between 2028 and 2030. That is $750 million entering the system. The league claims expansion fees generate zero net revenue because new teams immediately gain a share of future league income, while existing teams lose a fraction of theirs. The union rejects that logic. From their perspective, $750 million is real money entering the ecosystem, and players deserve a share. Without transparent books, both sides are arguing from fundamentally different definitions of reality, and that is why negotiations have stalled.
Which again, I've talked about this in other episodes, but I feel like the Sabrinas kind of took over what the Kyries were, because the Kyries were so popular. And I feel like a lot of NBA players went from wearing Kyries to wearing Sabrinas. Like if you wear Kyrie or you wore a Kobe, then you're more likely to wear the Sabrinas. But this new technology that they're adding to Caitlin's shoe should be really great. There should be a lot of hype around it. And that's the thing with Caitlin Clark's signature shoe. Like a lot of fans are going to buy her shoe regardless of if you play basketball or not, whether you care about how they feel or not. Fans are just going to buy them because she has so many fans who are just ready to eat up whatever merchandise.
Rachel makes an important comparison that explains exactly what Nike is aiming for. She mentions that her husband owns 50 to 60 pairs of Sabrina Ionescu's signature shoes. Not because he is a super fan, but because those shoes perform at an elite level. The Sabrina line has effectively replaced what Kyrie Irving's shoes used to represent for guards: low profile, responsive, and built for quick, shifty players. That is the standard Caitlin Clark's shoe must meet. This cannot be a celebrity shoe that casual fans buy for the name and never play in. It must become the shoe that serious players choose because it gives them an edge. The real test will be this. Do NBA players start wearing Caitlin Clark's signature shoe? Because when that happens, just like it did with Sabrina, that is when you know Nike got it right. That is when it stops being a marketing story and becomes a cultural shift. Nike's planned release window of spring 2026 is not random. It lines up perfectly with the start of Clark's third WNBA season, which is typically when players hit their prime and their signature shoes gain real traction. Assuming there is a season, this could be the ideal launch moment. But that assuming is doing a lot of work, because hanging over all of this momentum is a major unresolved issue that could derail everything. The WNBA's labor situation. At the time this was recorded, January 9th was just 8 days away, the deadline for the league and the Players Union to reach a new collective bargaining agreement. According to reporting from Alexa Filippo, both sides remain deeply divided on fundamental issues. This is not about minor details. This is about how revenue is defined, how expenses are counted, and how the league's financial future is structured. And those disagreements threaten to overshadow even the most promising commercial developments.
excited about coming up with different colorways and such. She said that she might do a colorway that's like a Chiefs colorway because she's a huge fan of them. But overall, it was a good conversation. Like we're getting little bits and pieces, and it seems like this Nike shoe was very close. Like it should be here in spring of 2026, and that has been the report. Nick DePaula reported that the shoe is expected to release in spring of 2026, and hopefully we have a WNBA season, and this launches right before the WNBA season. That would just be the perfect momentum going into her third season in the WNBA. And Caitlin Clark also addressed why this shoe has taken so long, and she said, "I talked to Nike, Adidas, and Under Armour, and they all offer."
This is where the bubble concern enters the conversation. The WNBA has experienced 2 years of unprecedented growth. Attendance is up, viewership is up, merchandise sales are booming, expansion fees are enormous. On the surface, everything looks healthy, but 2 years is not enough data to prove sustainability, especially when so much of that growth is tied to one player. When Caitlin Clark was injured, viewership dipped. The 2025 draft without her saw significantly lower numbers than 2024. During her rookie season, she received more All-Star votes than the entire All-Star field from the previous year combined. That is not broad-based growth. That is one player driving momentum. Owners see risk. Players see opportunity. And now, another complication. Nafisa Collier is undergoing surgery on both ankles with a 4 to 6 month recovery timeline. Just 2 weeks earlier, she said she did not need surgery. Something changed. This impacts the WNBA, the Lynx, and Unrivaled, the league she co-founded with Breanna Stewart. Her absence raises serious questions about workload, recovery, and sustainability. Players are competing year-round with minimal rest, full WNBA seasons, international play, off-season leagues. Eventually, bodies break down. So here we are entering the new year with 3 massive unresolved storylines. Caitlin Clark's signature shoe representing the league's commercial ceiling. A CBA standoff threatening operational stability. A star injury highlighting physical limits. All 3 will shape the future of women's basketball. And none of them have clear answers yet. The question now is simple, but the answer is not. Will the league and players find common ground? Or are we headed for another extension, more uncertainty and more lost momentum? That decision will define what the WNBA becomes next.
Put out an article last night on New Year's Eve, and it says WNBA projecting big losses in latest proposal. The union disagrees. She said, as negotiations over a new CBA near the January 9th deadline, the WNBA and WNBPA remain far apart on several key issues. What a revenue sharing system would look like, what should be considered revenue, and how to account for expenses. It is kind of crazy, you guys, that we have 8 days left before this second deadline, and the league and the players are still very far apart. It says multiple sources familiar with the negotiations told ESPN on Wednesday that the WNBA is projecting that a recent proposal from the WNBPA, which would give players about 30% of gross revenue, is believed to feature approximately a $10.5 million salary cap, would result in $700 million in losses over the...
What you just heard is not hype. It is arguably the most important technology announcement in the history of women's basketball footwear. Caitlin Clark revealed that Nike is developing an entirely new cushioning system specifically for her signature shoe, technology that has never been used before in any basketball line. Not in LeBron's shoes, not in Kobe's, not anywhere. This is not a recycled concept or a modified version of an existing platform. This is brand new innovation engineered around Clark's playing style. That alone tells you how seriously Nike views her long-term impact. Shoe companies do not invest millions of dollars into new technology for short-term marketing. They do it when they believe a player represents the future of the sport. Nike is not just signing Clark, they are building around her. What makes this even more impressive is the decision she made early in the process. Clark openly stated that Adidas and Under Armour both offered her signature shoes immediately. Faster money, faster rollout, less waiting. She turned all of that down. At just 22 years old, she chose Nike because she believed they made the best product, even though she knew it would take longer to get her own shoe. That is a business decision well beyond her years. She understood that a rushed signature shoe can disappear quickly, but a technically superior product can last a decade. And now we see why that patience mattered. Clark explained a very specific performance issue she has with existing basketball shoes. Many Kobe models feature cushioning primarily in the heel, not the forefoot. For most players, that works. For Clark, it doesn't. Her game is built on constant cutting, abrupt stops, and explosive direction changes. Without full-foot cushioning, she described the feeling as running directly on hardwood. That is not sustainable for her body or her style. So Nike is responding by creating full-foot cushioning using technology they have never deployed before. This is not about aesthetics. It is about performance, injury prevention, and longevity. Nike is designing a shoe not just for Caitlin Clark, but for the future prototype of elite guards.
Or do you believe the players that they are just basically saying that because they don't want to pay them? I personally don't fully believe either side. Through all of this, I have learned to trust nobody, and I don't think that we will ever know the true financials behind this league. Obviously, they are expanding teams. The league will soon grow to 18 teams. Portland and Toronto will debut in 2026, and Cleveland, Detroit, and Philadelphia recently paid $250 million each to join the league between 2028 and 2030. But the league considers expansion fees a transaction that generates zero net revenue. New teams are out the expansion fee, but earn a fractional share of future league revenue, while pre-existing teams get a portion of the fee, but lose a fractional share of future league revenue.
Rachel highlights a critical issue that most fans overlook. The WNBA's ownership structure is unlike any other major North American sports league. Roughly 40% of the league is owned by the NBA. Another 40% is owned collectively by WNBA teams. The remaining 20% belongs to outside investors. That fragmentation makes revenue sharing incredibly difficult. In the NBA, players receive roughly 50% of basketball-related income. Simple split. But the WNBA cannot replicate that model because the league itself does not fully control its revenue. The NBA takes a cut. Outside investors expect returns. That leaves team owners with a shrinking slice of the pie. And those outside investors did not invest out of charity. They invested to make money. If the league projects $700 million in losses under the players' proposal, those investors will push back hard. Billionaires do not absorb massive losses without resistance. This creates a tension where everyone's incentives are misaligned. Players want security. Owners want sustainability. Investors want returns. And the league office is stuck trying to balance all three. That is why this dispute is not just about salaries. It is about whether the WNBA's current structure is even capable of supporting long-term growth without conflict.